Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi Dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. In today's analysis, we're taking a closer and more grounded look at an important topic that continues to shape expectations around the Iraqi Dinar, and that is the issue of money supply and the structural adjustments being quietly implemented by Iraq's central banking authorities. This is a subject that often gets misunderstood or oversimplified. So in this report, we're going to break it down in a clear, realistic, and professional way so that you can better understand what's actually happening behind the scenes and what it may mean moving forward. To begin with, one of the most widely acknowledged facts in Iraq's monetary system today is that there is a very large amount of currency in circulation. This refers specifically to the total volume of Iraqi dinar banknotes that are currently being used within the economy. Over the years, due to historical factors such as conflict, sanctions, inflation, and the need to facilitate daily transactions in a cash-heavy economy, Iraq has accumulated a significantly high money supply compared to the size and productivity of its economy. From a purely economic standpoint, this creates a challenge. When there is too much currency circulating relative to the actual goods, services, and economic output of a country, it places downward pressure on the value of that currency. This is one of the key reasons why any immediate or sharp revaluation of the Iraqi dinar becomes highly unlikely without deeper structural reforms. Currency value is not determined by wishful thinking or isolated decisions. It is tied to fundamentals such as economic productivity, fiscal stability, monetary discipline, and confidence in the financial system. This brings us to the second part of the discussion, which is the role of structural changes being carried out by Iraq's central banking system. While these changes may not always be visible in headlines or dramatic announcements, they are critical in shaping the long-term trajectory of the currency. The central bank has been working on gradually improving monetary control mechanisms, strengthening the banking sector, and addressing inefficiencies that have existed for many years. One of the most important aspects of these reforms is the effort to reduce excess banknotes in circulation. This does not necessarily mean a sudden removal or cancellation of currency, but rather a controlled and gradual process aimed at improving the quality and structure of the money supply. This can involve encouraging the use of electronic payments, enhancing banking penetration, reducing reliance on physical cash, and tightening regulatory oversight on currency flows. By reducing the volume of physical cash in circulation and bringing more financial activity into the formal banking system, authorities can gain better control over monetary policy. This is essential for managing inflation, stabilizing exchange rates, and creating the kind of environment where a stronger and more stable currency could eventually be supported. It is also important to understand that these types of structural adjustments take time. They are not overnight changes, and they are not designed to produce immediate dramatic shifts in exchange rates. Instead, they are part of a long-term strategy to build a more resilient and modern financial system. This includes improving transparency, strengthening institutions, and aligning Iraq's economic framework with international standards. In the short term, what this likely means is that expectations for any rapid or significant revaluation of the Iraqi dinar should be approached with caution. The presence of a large money supply alone acts as a limiting factor. Until that supply is better aligned with economic output and managed through effective policy tools, the scope for major currency appreciation remains constrained. However, that does not mean that progress is not being made. On the contrary, the fact that structural changes are being implemented quietly and consistently is actually a positive signal. It indicates that policymakers are focused on addressing root issues rather than pursuing quick fixes. For observers and followers of the Iraqi dinar, this is an important distinction to keep in mind. Looking at the medium to long term, these reforms could lay the groundwork for a more stable and credible currency environment. As excess liquidity is reduced, as the banking system becomes more efficient, and as economic activity becomes more diversified and productive, the conditions necessary for currency strength can gradually emerge. This is not a guaranteed outcome, but it is a realistic pathway based on established economic principles. Another key factor to consider is confidence. Currency value is heavily influenced by both domestic and international confidence in a country's financial system. By taking steps to modernize its monetary framework and reduce structural imbalances, Iraq can improve that confidence over time. This, in turn, can attract investment, support economic growth, and reinforce stability in the exchange rate. It is also worth noting that reducing excess banknotes can help combat issues such as informal economic activity and unregulated cash flows. A more controlled and transparent financial environment makes it easier for authorities to implement effective policy measures and respond to economic challenges. This adds another layer of long-term benefit to the current reforms. For those closely following the Iraqi dinar, the key takeaway here is to focus on fundamentals rather than speculation. While it is natural to be interested in potential currency movements, it is equally important to understand the underlying economic realities. Large-scale changes in currency value are typically the result of sustained improvements in economic conditions, not isolated actions. In practical terms, this means monitoring indicators such as inflation trends, banking sector development, fiscal policy discipline, and overall economic growth. These are the factors that ultimately determine the strength and stability of a currency over time. Structural reforms, like the ones currently being implemented, play a central role in shaping these indicators. At the same time, it is important to remain balanced and avoid extreme conclusions. The existence of a large money supply does not permanently prevent currency improvement, but it does set certain conditions that must be addressed first. Similarly, ongoing reforms do not guarantee a specific outcome, but they do increase the likelihood of gradual progress if they are sustained and effectively managed. In conclusion, today's discussion highlights a critical aspect of Iraq's economic landscape. The high volume of currency in circulation is a significant factor that limits the possibility of any immediate revaluation. However, the ongoing structural changes being implemented by the central banking system, particularly efforts to reduce excess banknotes and modernize the financial framework, represent a meaningful step in the right direction. These developments should be viewed through a long-term lens. They are part of a broader strategy aimed at strengthening the foundations of Iraq's economy and creating the conditions necessary for future stability. While short-term expectations should remain realistic, the gradual progress being made behind the scenes is an important story that deserves attention. As always, staying informed with accurate and balanced information is the best approach. Thank you for watching, and if you value responsible and factual updates on the Iraqi dinar, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. This content is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice.